So the sister approached me and told me that, actually not the sister, just like the young people, that now this is the only person left. How can you assist? Then I asked her, how can I assist you? She told me she has a clothes business. So I asked her, okay, how do I assist? And she told me, support me with 10,000 shillings to boost my stock. So when people trivialize 22,000 shillings because they have been out of the reality for so long, 22,000 can actually change someone's livelihood. This is someone who told me, with 10,000 shillings, I'm going to boost my stock and I'm going to increase my earning. And I did exactly that. So this 22,000 shillings, which is actually phase one, is going to change these people once you show what you've done, because there are many business ideas. So once you start your investment, then afterwards you can access the other 28,000 shillings to boost your business. This is going to change the lives of our young Kenyans. If as leaders we mentor them, we ensure that anytime they have challenges, we are available to take them through, the challenges in business, because there are all these factors, especially for startups. There are people who are boosting their already existing businesses, and there are quite a number. So it's one of the measures that, going back to your question, because you asked about how the improving economy is affecting the Kenyans. I want to say we sometimes forget to give credit, because government recently increased salaries for civil servants. Of course, that just passed because people say, okay, you are taking it away, now it's back. I mean, that's the attitude.
But is it the truth? Is it the truth? Is that what happened? That previously it wasn't there, it was there, it was removed, and now it's been brought back? A status of equilibrium has been maintained.
My question is it a good thing? Because, I mean, we were in a situation where the government and even everyone accepted we had a bad credit rating. We were going to default our loans. So where do you go? And this is something we do even in our homes. I think people try to imagine government is this operating system that has to operate beyond what we do. Even in your own house, if you have issues, if you are defaulting, you start taking away your luxuries, you start spending less and less.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I want to bring in an issue here. Because if we're going to compare this to what happens in a home, if you pardon me on this, if you're going to compare this to what happens in a home, you know what happens is that if there are father or mother figures, they call a meeting and they say, you know what's going to happen here? That we used to have 10,000. We still have the 10,000, but we then have liabilities, right? So from that 10,000, it means that we cannot do what we used to do with the 10,000. In some cases, it's also possible that the 10,000 has reduced to 8,000. So what does that mean? That we're going to change your school, perhaps as children? That perhaps if we were eating meat every day, now we're going to eat 3 times a week, or maybe not at all. That if we had milk in our tea, that perhaps now we will have it once a week. And that instead of us driving you to school, in this case, flying around the country in choppers, we're going to maybe walk. Or that if we're going to go for holiday, perhaps we will have a holiday in the living room. Do you understand where I'm going?
Yes, I
now,
get you.
The reality of the country does not compare to the reality of the country's pocket. And this is what we are talking about when it comes to, unfortunately, the leaders in certain positions. That at this point, where you earn 100 shillings and 70 of those shillings go towards debt, and that you have 30 shillings left to pay for your overheads in terms of salaries and your recurrent expenditure, and then development, that it doesn't work. That when we see, granted, and it's true, because I agree that we must give credit where it's due, that we have seen a stabilization of the economy in terms of inflation, but that's at the macro level. When we look at the micro level and what is happening I don't know if you've seen the pictures. I don't know if you are seeing what's really happening, because, we can be honest, politics or not, that the situation in many a household is very different from the picture that's painted on the national scene, where we have people flying all around the place. Where does the money come from? Today in the paper, we read how Mwangaza, who is a governor, was somehow impeached with 100 million shillings. And I wonder, where does this money come from? Where there's a man who knelt before his son with 30 shillings and said, "This is all I have to give you as you go to school." That's the reality, Leo. How do you deal with that reality
I want to tell you,
in an honest fashion?
Yes. And I want to say, my constituency, as you know, he referred to Northeastern. He could just refer to Mbeere North, because we have poor infrastructure, no water, and we are asking ourselves, how do we turn it around? Because we have poverty levels, high poverty levels. We have actually drought that has affected us, and today, as we are, some families are relying on relief food. I thank government because we got food in time, and I want to agree with him. We need measures, and government has grand dams and also mini dams in the next financial year, which should be coming up in the budget. So coming back to your question,
Thwake Dam. Your senator from Makwene County has just talked about Thwake Dam, which, I'm sorry, we're going to stop things in their tracks here, because where the rubber meets the road is that there is a Kenyan who is suffering, and one Kenyan suffering is too much. So we can talk about the grand plans, but let's talk about the reality. Thwake Dam has been on construction for 3 years, has not been completed. How do Kenyans believe that 100 grand dams, or even one grand dam, and maybe 50 mini dams will be completed if, when you have one dam, for 3 years, that has not been completed? How do we resonate?
How do we resonate? It's very easy. Thwake Dam started at a point when, got into a point when the coffers were empty, Yeah, it was started. Let me just come to that.
It started 9 years ago. But the last 3 years, nothing has happened. It was abandoned at 94%.
And Senator, if you allow me, we have seen many road construction projects halted, and now they have restarted. I believe, I don't want to speak something I don't know. I don't want to answer directly on Thwake Dam because I don't have the facts here. But I know for a fact, if it's not already restarted, it must be in the next financial year. It must be funded in the next budget, because last year we didn't have money for most projects. We are struggling to pay debt, but this year the government is already funding most projects that had stalled. So I'm going to get that and I'll share it with you. I'm definitely sure Thwake Dam will be among the first dam, because it doesn't, like you say, it doesn't make sense to start 100 when some others are stalled, and it's not our style. It's not the government style. And there is an important point I really need to respond to, because I'm in Parliament, and people are saying we are captured, and unfortunately, I want to say the opposition. If you seem to accept a good idea, you have been, your mind is taken. I don't know whether they siphon or how they do it. I don't know how they do it, because for me, I see something that is working. I don't see the need to oppose it.
Is there an opposition in Parliament?
Yes, there is. Okay. Yes. In fact, there is a day I said the president launched Lipa Sha Pole Pole, and there is a member of Parliament said it's not there yet. In the Ministry of Health website, you can actually go and enroll in that, So it's not that we don't have opposition. It's just that most members of Parliament look at the situation as it is and decide to vote either way,
Mheshimiwa, listening to you and as a Kenyan, I get a little bit disturbed, especially given your role, your constitutional role as a people's representative, because how many Kenyans out there will go to Ministry of Health website to look at SHA and think about how to engage?
Yes, and good question.
Let me just push it again further, because the senator said that the gap between the rich and the poor has widened.
Yes.
And as you respond to the good question, in your view, and as you talk to the people who make these policies, the decisions, do you think that Kenyans are much more poorer or wealthier as their representative?
Your first question is actually for SHA. You use *147 hash. It will give you all those options.
That's correct, Moesh.
Yeah.
But I'm just looking at
on information.
Yeah.
On information, for example, every forum I get, I encourage people to register for SHA. You register for SHA, you take away my burden of Harambes. Mm-hmm. You take away the burden of civil servants and any employed person out there for Harambes. Mm-hmm. So are Kenyans richer? Maybe the salaries may not have gone up significantly, but the savings you are making from not going for Harambes for school fees. Like now in my constituencies, I've implemented free-day secondary school. I'm among the few constituencies that are doing that. And with SHA, yes, people may not, the economics around people may not have improved much, but government has interventions to help people save, because we used to have so many contributions for bills. We are saving on that, and it's something. Again, I say on Nyota, it's a step in the right direction. So we cannot just say, we can say yes, maybe people are not getting richer, and it cannot happen overnight, but does government take measures to ensure that we are getting out from the current situation? From what I see, the answer is yes.
Senator,
I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Senator.
Yes.
We look at a situation where a lot has been spoken in terms of where the country is at. So when you look at the economy of the country, and you just speak to Kenyans on ground, and they will tell you the economy, people are pressed, people are crushed by the way things are. That you talk about cost of living. Kenyans are not able to afford things like they used to. Like Ndu gave the example, you have to squeeze yourself to see what it is you're working in. You to look at security of the country, right? You look at health, development in the country. But with all that, Senator, one asks the question, what we see every day is that, and I'm going to throw all of you guys under the bus here, right? The political class is always on the campaign trail. One asks the question, at what point then, Senator, would you sit in the House and represent your people and ensure that the economy is fixed, that matters to do with oversight is delivered, representation works for both of you? At what point do you decide, nimetoka leo National Assembly, the president is in Meru, I am in Embu with him to campaign? Senator, at what point do you decide, today we are in Eldoret, let's go for campaign, yet there are issues, the economy needs to be fixed, everything must happen, yet the cardinal responsibility has been left. Do Kenyans today, where we sit as Kenyans, do you believe that Kenyans trust the political class to solve their issues?
They don't. And that's why Parliament was overrun on June 24th, 2024. Members of Parliament sat there passing a law which was going to have taxes even on bread and even on most basic things. You see, if you overtax Kenyans and you did the work, you did the roads, you gave them the water, you gave them irrigation, no one will complain much. But if you overtax and everything is at a standstill and only a few people are living flash life, and in fact, what the ruling class is doing is to take our taxes and use as if it was their own money. Have a plan, have a budget, which is never followed. And the government has also gone. What has triggered the early campaigns, and there should not be. Everybody should be at work building the nation. But the president himself started early campaigns. And then when people see how their money is being misused, because all these monies you see in campaign rallies is part of the budget. Permanent secretaries are asked to give money in cash, and then they work backwards as if some work was done, which is not the case. And therefore, there's a lot of dishonesty in the country. Kenyans are trying to rescue themselves from this situation. That's why the early campaigns. But part of the campaign is saying, register as a Kenyan first of all, acquire an ID. Unfortunately, the IDs are now being given in certain areas, not in all the not everywhere equally. And I'm going to bring up a question this afternoon in the Senate to summon the registrar or persons so that they can give equity to the country. So there are many things going wrong, and this is what has caused the irritation. This is what has caused the riots, the demonstrations you saw. And unfortunately, a lot of young people were killed. So we are telling the same young people, now that you have said it is one term, you not even a half term, because Kenyans would have easily done a half term. But the Constitution provides that you serve your term, there is an election, and a new leader is elected. Therefore, for Kenyans who are...
the same Constitution, Senate also gives you room to impeach for half term.
You can impeach, but unfortunately the House is under capture. If the House was independent, they would have impeached a long time ago. You know what happens? The bribes in Parliament. And the bribes in Parliament come from the executive. It comes from our budget. When a member of Parliament is being bribed, a child is not going to school. The capitation has not reached, and a child has been chased away from school. Yet a member of Parliament has been bribed a number of millions of shillings for their own benefit to take their children abroad, while yours cannot. The schools are closed down here because maybe there are riots. So I want to say that the reason you saw the demonstrations, the Kenyans were speaking loudly that we are not doing well. And they ended up in the streets, and they ended up being killed. So they changed strategy. And that's why I'm telling them, please register as a Kenyan. Do the honorable thing. Acquire, be a voter. And vote a good government, so that we do not have campaigns. We don't have to be in a permanent campaign mode and things like that. And therefore we are saying, build the nation. Don't impoverish the nation for a few. Just a few people are stealing. A lot of money was used to get then elected. A lot of money, which would have taken a lot of children to school. But that's fine. I'm happy for him. He's in Parliament. Now make the change. Challenge the government, even when it has used money on you. Challenge it. When they are wrong, tell them SHA is not working. Don't tell them SHA is working when it is not.
And Mheshimiwa Leo, are you able to do that as a member of Parliament in terms of oversighting the national oversighting the executive?
Of course,
because one looks at it from the standpoint that you are in the House, and even at the time before you joined the House, there's a statement that the President made in terms of we must live within our means, and with that was meant to stop the wastage that we see today. As a National Assembly, what stops you from calling out the executive in terms of the expenditure that we see on a daily basis? The other day, hundreds of millions of shillings that are being spent on state banquets. One asks the question, why isn't the National Assembly calling out the executive on how they're spending? Can't the National Assembly call out the President in terms of he's spending millions of shillings to give out 22,000 bob? Can't he just stay in office and let this thing be worked out in a smarter way?
Well,
can you call out the executive?
Yes, we can. I can. At my individual level, yes, I can. Where I see issues. Now, I'll first answer your question. How do we manage? Of course, part of our mandate is also to give information to the people. There is a lot that government does people don't even believe.
But government has its spokesperson to do that for them.
And that's the thing. And you see, when you talk about politics, if you look at the definition, I can't remember the actual words, but sometimes you have systematic hatred spread against someone. And this gets to the civil servant. So you have even chiefs who do not even tell people what government is doing. You have a provincial administration where, some minds are captured by opposition, and it happens. So for those people who love progress, we go out to our people and we explain to them, don't listen to people who are telling you SHA doesn't work, register for SHA. Don't listen to the people who tell you Nyota is a scam. It is not a scam. That's why I actually said I've been in business, I've launched products. When you are launching a product, the initial launch budget is usually the highest. And I like it that the president is going out there to show people that it is actually real, it is actually working. And about the president going out to meet the people, I mean, he's been in politics for long enough. He knows how to manage his own finances. I can't say that it's coming from our coffers. The executive has a budget.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just please allow me to finish what I'm saying. You see, and up until when you come up with, because the executive has a budget which is approved by parliament, when the expenditure comes back and they say that from this budget, this was used for campaigns, then we have a question, but that has not been brought to the House.
Okay.
It hasn't come to the House. And I really need to respond to a few issues.
I just want to...
One important issue, because he said a lot of money was used in my campaigns. And of course it is said so. And the recent MCA by-elections, I'm happy no one is talking about money because we took issues to the people. I did it. I led a team with Governor Barire and some other people, and we still won. So when people talk about, money being spent in my campaign, it's what gets out there. But actually on the ground, it was a heated campaign, but it was just normal spending. I mean,
I don't know if you're aware that there's a committee of the Senate, which is called the County Public Accounts Committee.
Yes.
Now, Embu County were called out.
Yes.
The governor, Mbarire, was asked, how is it that we see 10 million shillings of county money that had been moved? She didn't deny it before the Senate committee.
Yes.
And the question still remains. Until now, the chair of the committee is asking that EACC then must be invited to ask why this money that was meant for 1, 2, 3 was diverted for two things: elections and empowerment campaigns.
No, it was for Boda, and she accounted for every coin. It went to Boda.
If that was the case,
and it was way before.
Why wasn't it budgeted?
Why was it removed from county funds that were meant for other things? Because the thing about things like this is that if it happens under the public arena, that if that can happen in that measure, it doesn't stop it from happening in others. And my question then is this: as members of parliament, you hold the executive to account.
Yes.
You approve the budgets, you provide necessary legislation, you ensure, or you should ensure, that constitutionally the executive is doing what they ought to do.
Yes.
Now, in the event that we see certain things not happening, because I'm sure you know bursaries were given the other day, and the bursaries were talking about another 100,000 shillings. They're not even 50,000 shillings. They're not even 10,000 shillings. These bursaries are 2,500 shillings. Now, tell me how that plays against a fee that parents are given when they go to school of 30, 40, 50,000 shillings. When we have an MP's bursary, we have the county giving, we have the president's fund, we have, NGCDF, we have all these funds giving money, and a child is going to school with 3,500 shillings. And yet, you also tell us at the same time that 340 million shillings per month is what is spent. Now, I want to ask a question. Because you make the budgets, how much does it cost to move the president in a day? Let's say the president was going from Nairobi, and you can't tell me you don't have this answer because you make the budgets. How much does it cost the president to move from Nairobi? Let's not even go far. Shall we go to Makueni? Okay. How much does it take to move the president and everything that it takes to move him? Because you also can't tell us that when he moves to have and launch these projects, that this money comes from his pocket.
No.
How much does it take to move the president to Makueni and bring him back to State House on a Wednesday, for example?
I would say,
10
of course.
choppers.
No, which 10 choppers? Honestly, let's be fair. I've seen two most of the time. I've seen two choppers most of the time. He's the head of state. It's not cheap to move the president around. But the point I'm making, and I want to come back to the bursary issue, because there is a day I spoke and I say, we cannot divert attention to just the president. I said, I mean, I have a responsibility. You mentioned NGCDF bursaries, right? There are some constituencies which are doing a fantastic job with that. And of course, there is the talk about why can't we look at the system that works best and maybe use one channel for bursaries? That's a good conversation. But then, how out of the 290 constituencies, there is GAF for the Women Fund, which is working best in the constituencies that it's working best.
Well, Shimiwa, I would love to hear a little bit more about that, but my insistence on this point is that members of parliament, and I'm staying with the National Assembly here, I'm not even going to Senate.
Yes.
You have a job to keep the executive accountable. So it baffles many Kenyans, whereby 2,500 shillings is being given to students who are going to school, whereby that doesn't do anything in terms of how much it's supposed to, their fees are supposed to pay. And we have an executive. You're still not giving me a number. Perhaps you need to go back and look into that. But the fact is that you should be able to stand up in parliament and say, and my question is, would you be able?
Yes.
Hey, hold on. If truly, because this thing of capture by the executive has been milling around in these waters for the longest time. If truly that is not the case, would you be able to stand up in parliament when given the opportunity to speak and say, you know what, it is a shame that Kenya's children cannot go to school, and we have people flying around in choppers on a daily basis, spending money, billions of shillings in mandazi and food and milk and people, vehicles, fuel, when Kenya's children cannot go to school. Do you see yourself being able to say, Mr. President, this cannot go on? Honestly, and in truth.
No, in truth, I'll tell you. First, you mentioned 2,500. It's a situation we face all the time. You call out for bursary applications. You have this limited fund, and everybody applies. What do you do?
Can you stand before Parliament and say, Mr. President,
Parliament,
stop spending this money that you're spending and let's send our children to school?
If there is no justification for that, I will do it.
The justification is that there are children who cannot go to school. The justification is that their parents...
But the president also has to work. And I don't see, like, you know, he said 10 choppers.
This is what I'm saying.
Who uses 10 choppers? You know, these are the
MPs who come around.
Wait a minute. These are the things that I don't agree
very
with.
Unnecessary
we
people.
talk of the executive, you know, spending too much money, and when you check that, it's within their budget. You know, and like I said, I want you to.
Did the executive not come back to Parliament in a supplementary budget and ask for extra funding for the executive? Did that not happen?
Yes.
So what are we talking about within the budget?
But did they justify? The answer is also yes.
Did the children of Kenya not justify that they needed to go to school?
Was money allocated for bursaries? The answer is yes.
Can I tell you that the truth of the matter is that
am I giving out bursaries? The answer is yes.
Let's talk about capitation, shall we? That as we speak today, even capitation for the first term is not complete. Do you know that?
I know. But at least government has given government, because these are different budgets. You know, we have to look at votes. Government spends in votes, and votes are funded again by Treasury. So there is a vote for capitation, and government sent what was available at that moment.
That's correct.
Are there plans to pay? Yes, and in fact, by the way, for most boarding schools in my constituency, they have received their capitation. I know it's day schools that have not received. Of course, they are the majority, but they have received most of it.
I think
and today, despite that, I am working with all my principals to ensure no child is not in school. I have ensured we have free day secondary school education in my school. So I'm not sitting back to complain. I'm giving solutions to my people. And that's why we have to look at all the elected leaders in Kenya. We have one president. We have 47 governors. We have elected 47 senators. We have women reps. We have MPs. We cannot all target our missiles on the president. What am I doing as an MP?
Here's the thing.
Even without capitation, there is no child in Bere North who is not in school.
Here's the thing.
Yeah. Let us challenge people based on what they are doing
as a business person, right?
Yeah.
If I hire you to do a job, you must do the job. If you don't do the job, you get fired. The reason why I brought in matters to do with the president moving around under Nyoto Fund is because Nyoto Fund is under a certain ministry, right? Yeah. It is under the Ministry of Youth.
And cooperatives.
And cooperatives, right? Yeah. And one would expect that these are the individuals, because they're the ones who come with the policy, that they would take that idea and push it. Because the president, all he needs is to delegate that responsibility to them. If these individuals cannot deliver, that the president must be forced to get out there to push these things, what the president needs to do is to find individuals who are not working and bring in people who can carry the idea and vision to fruition. Fact that members of parliament have failed to ensure that that happens, it must be called out for what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The opposition is complaining.
I just want to say, now that we have run out of time, that I have been with the late MP for many years. One time I visited his constituency, he promoted young talent, he promoted musicians and people who made livelihood out of good music. And I really want to say that he also told off government when it was wrong. He was elected with Kanu ticket twice. The latest he did was to stop land being grabbed in his constituency, and he stopped the police from killing citizens personally, and to go there to be shot. And I really want to say that although his life has been cut short, and we want a proper investigation to make sure that this was not done by anybody, that it's a pure accident, it was not activated in any manner. And we look forward to Kenyans like this. This was a true Kenyan, a true member of parliament, who checked the government whether he was in it or not. I thank you.
Mheshimiwa, just one last word, because this is Honorable Leo. Kenyans expect certain freshness in the National Assembly or Parliament generally. And the reason as to why from this table we are emphasizing that government has to be held accountable, because I also feel I'm not comfortable when I hear members of Parliament, spewing government position. The responsibility is to hold accountable government, whether you are in government or not. But when you get to the House, the floor is an open slate. When Kenyans send you to represent them and they have issues around accountability for resources, which can also be accessed through the reports of the Controller of Budget, because Ndo is asking, these choppers XYZ, the Controller of Budget has raised concerns around excesses every single day. But what Kenyans are seeing is wastage as opposed to what we call vitu kwa ground. So my request is, when you get there, we are looking for freshness. You are a newcomer, and so we expect that this newcomer is going to bring in some newness and new freshness, some fresh blood. And I hope that is really going to be a message that you can walk out with.
Definitely there is. I have some very good bills. One time maybe we'll come to discuss, already presented to the Speaker, to help change the situation, because that's another thing that we also need to do, that we have to look at where there are gaps and we come up with legislation to cover those gaps. Yes, I agree there is need for that, and we've criticized some things. Like I remember I spoke against these agreements that government has had with
Adani.
No, this the
he was
military.
hoping it was Adani.
military. These guys who are violating our women in Laikipia, the Batuk. We all spoke against it. So it's not that we are blind to reality. So I must say we also as leaders have to be very responsible, and I like the media. You put us you have to check on us, you have to push us to the corner, and yes, sometimes you may forget yourself. But I must say, we have to deal with facts when presented in the House, because that's a serious House, and that's why when you speak, you just speak without evidence. You are actually put on a point of order, and you have to clarify and you have to give evidence. So when these matters come to the House, it's not what we speak about out here. When the actuals come to the House, if there is no justification, definitely we check and return it. I'm sure we with my colleagues we are able to do that, because because we are Kenyans. We are employing. We are in business. It's not like we are living in a vacuum. No, we face these challenges as well. Again, I want to speak. I know he mentioned Mheshimiwa Ngeno. I knew him a few days. I met him we never talked so much, but he was a nice chap. And I want to tell Kenyans that we give police room to investigate before casting up aspersions. And it is known, there is even eyewitness evidence as to what happened. You know how they decided to take off in bad weather. Unfortunately, these are things that happen. So as we mourn our colleague, we request, let us not try to create emotions around it. We are all deeply saddened by the loss. He was a great man. He was a fighter. He was a liberator. I know he was headed in. I mean, he was going to go very far. People know that. I send condolences to his constituency, his family, and we continue mourning. But let's not try to make it look like maybe somebody did it. At least let's rest our brother, and then we can now look at what's happening around the situation.
In a minute, for both of you, if we start with you. We started off this conversation with a question about whether Kenya is heading, what direction Kenya is heading in. Yeah. And from an economic level, are you still of the supposition that Kenya is headed in the right direction? And we'll come to you, Senator.
Yes, we are headed in the right direction. A lot needs to be done. This is what we are not focusing on. There is a lot that needs to be done. Like this year, we had a drought that has killed animals. We have people who have, many debilitating issues because of this drought. Are there measures in the next budget? As Parliament will ensure that most of the funding now will go into construction of dams, completing of dams, so that we have, because rain-fed agriculture is already. We've already exhausted. We have.
In how long are we looking at this? These dams you're talking about?
I would give it 2 years.
2 years?
Yes.
So in 2 years, how many dams are you saying would have been constructed in Kenya?
We have. I don't have the exact number of it, but the mini dams are more in like 100.
So we should see 100 mini dams. Let's not even go to the megawatts.
Yes.
100 mini dams in 2 years would have been constructed in
Kenya.
Yes. This is what Leo Wamudende is saying.
This is what I'll push in Bunge.
So will it come to be, or you'll push?
I will push, and it will come to be.
So those two things will happen.
Yes.
2 years will come.
Yes, 2 years will be here.
That's the thing about time.
2 years after 2 term. 2 years after 2 term. Yes.
2 years from now is 2028.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
March.
In our 2 term, we'll be launching dams.
100 dams would have been constructed.
100 mini dams.
Yes.
But in 2 years. We'll be sorting out the food security issue once and for all.
It may come as a surprise to you, but Kenya has experienced a drought every year for the last 27 years, and these things that you're talking about haven't been done in 27. But you seem to think that it will be done in 2 years. We're looking forward to that.
Because the plan is there. Did we have a plan, such a plan?
You would be surprised to hear that there actually was.
There was,
and there was the establishment of the National Disaster Emergency Authority. Establishment of that authority was to establish the plans that had been in government 27 years, but you seem to think this can be done in 2. So Kenyans are actually looking forward to that. I want to go to Senator.
May I say something, please? Yes. We have government officers who are brilliant, our brothers and sisters in government offices, who came up with grand, good ideas that were never supported by the executive. This executive is supporting ideas aimed at changing this country. That's why I have faith in it.
All right. Well, the thing about time, as I said before, is that it doesn't stop for any man.
True.
So let's see.
Bob Marley actually sang that.
Senator.
Yes. I really want to say that the country is not going the right direction. There is a lot of suffering in the country. There is a lot of misuse of public funds. There is a lot of corruption going on, and there is weakening of government institutions, weakening of the court system, weakening of the DPP, who is supposed to be prosecuting corrupt officials, weakening of the DCI investigative wing, ESCC. Therefore, we need a change. We need a leadership which can fight corruption and which can bring the country back to track. And that's why Kenyans have said 1 term for President William Ruto.
He's a senator of the Republic of Kenya representing the county of Makueni. Dan Manzo, thank you for being here with us this morning. Leo Mudende, Member of Parliament from Better North, has also been here this morning. He says 2 years, 100 mini dams in 2 years. Something to look forward to. Thank you both for being here this morning and at least staying. We've gone past the hour of 8 o'clock, but it was necessary to get some of those things out. I'm not sure where we stand now after that. But some things are clear. Choose them for which ones they are. Asante Sana for being here this morning. 8:10. We'll talk again. Conversations continue. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room